Hello, my name is Myra. Welcome back to another video. So we are now in the month of June, and I know that that's how the months work. After May is June, but I still can't believe that it's already June, simply because I feel like there were some months, especially like January, February, and March, that felt like they really dragged. And I guess it actually felt like the full month. So now it being June, and especially me having been so busy like April and May, I'm just like, what the heck? Like, how did we get here? But honestly, I'm so excited for the summer. I don't know why. I have a good feeling about the summer, and I really hope that I'm right. Anyway, for today's video, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the books that are releasing in June that are on my radar. There are so many books that are releasing. There are a ton of books that I probably have never even heard of that I will stumble upon throughout the month that I'll be picking up. But these are some of the books that I've heard about or that I've stumbled upon up until the point of me filming this video. And I figured I would just kind of share some of the ones that I'll be keeping an eye out for and possibly reading in the month of June. Now, to start off, we are going to start with Worth Fighting For by Jessie Q. Sutanto. So this is actually a Mulan retelling, but it's supposed to take place in the Bay Area, which is like San Francisco, California area, and it's in like the finance world. So I don't know how that would work because it's not a fantasy, obviously, but it being a Mulan retelling, obviously if you've watched the movie Mulan, she takes the identity of being a man because she has to go into war, and she goes in the place of her father, and there's this whole thing. She starts making a connection with, you know, like it's this whole thing. So I'm just curious to how that's gonna work, but I've never read a Mulan retelling book before, so I feel like this could be really interesting, so I'm really excited. And this is again releasing on June 3rd. Next, I have 4 books that are releasing in June 10th. I don't know why, I guess everybody wanted to release them in June 10th, I don't know, but let me go ahead and just start off from the top. So I have Realm of Thieves by Karina Halley. So this is supposed to be a like illegal dragon trade book, so obviously there's fantastical elements in it. I love Karina Halley, but I've actually never read any of her fantasy books. I've read her contemporary books and none of her fantasy, so I'm really excited. I know a ton of people have been really looking forward to this book, and I think that this is a book that had gotten pushed and pushed and pushed. So now that it's finally releasing, people are really excited. It just sounds really interesting. It's supposed to, again, be this like illegal dragon egg trade. It's supposed to be kind of like this, you know, thieves and black market. And I'm just kind of thinking about like the movie Now You See Me, where they're magicians, but then they also have like these heists. So it just sounds like it's gonna be full of action, but it sounds like it might be a really good time. The next one is If I Told You I'd Have to Kiss You by May Marvel. So this is actually a sapphic romance, and it's a Miss and Miss Smith, which just sounds so fun. I love a good spy movie. I love a good spy book. I've actually read other spy books this year already, and I just love them. They're full of action. You don't know what's gonna happen. And in this case, it being a Miss and Miss Smith type of story, I'm thinking that they're both not gonna know that they're involved for the CIA or whatever agency it is that they're working for. So I feel like it's gonna be a really good time. I'm thinking maybe they're in a relationship and they're kind of holding secrets. And again, I love Mr. and Mrs. Smith. That is one of my favorite movies. So yeah, I really want to read this book this month. Then I have Plus Size Player by Danielle Allen. So this is something, so on the blurb it said that it's a novel about how sometimes what you're looking for is right in front of you. Sorry, I keep feeling a hair right here. Anyway, so on the back of this book, it actually says that it's supposed to be a novel about how sometimes what you're looking for is right in front of you. So it turns out that our heroine is someone who doesn't like to put all her eggs in one basket. So what that means is that basically if she is looking for a certain type of companion, she goes for that. But at the same time, if she's getting attention from a different man who is fulfilling a different area in her life, that doesn't mean that she's just going to like settle down and be exclusive with this one person. So she kind of plays the field. And I'm getting the vibe from this book that she's the one that's kind of, I guess, considered a player, just in the sense that she dates around and she's not afraid to ask you know, for what she wants, and she's unapologetic in it. So I love a good heroine that is like that. I love a woman who knows what she wants and who is not afraid to speak her mind and go after what she wants. So this just sounds like it's gonna be a really, really good time. And last, for June 10th, I have Caught Up by Navisa Allen, or Navessa Allen. And this is going to have voyeurism, play clubs, and mafia connections. Caught Up is actually the second book following Lights Out, and I absolutely loved Lights Out. It's one of my favorite audiobooks because it honestly is one of those books that when you're listening to it, it makes you laugh out loud. Now, of course, this has to do with the writing, but also I just feel like the narrators did such a good job to really portray those feelings, those emotions, and really make you feel like you're there. So I can't wait to pick this up. I will be picking up the audio for this one because, again, I had such a good time with the first book that this one should be interesting. I do think it's interesting that there will be mafia elements in it. I love mafia. I don't know how much there will be in this, but also the sound of like clubs and voyeurism. It just sounds like a really good time. So we'll see how this one goes. Later on in the month, we have Anti-Hero by C.W. Farnsworth. Now, I didn't really like, this is the second book by her. This is part of a series, but the name of the first book is False God, which is already two Taylor Swift song titles, False God and Anti-Hero. So I'm just like, I'm already here for it because of the titles. But when I was looking at the blurb, it looks like this is some sort of like billionaire romance, and it's a like forbidden, I think, type of romance with the second one. I definitely want to pick up False God first, but this book is coming out on the 24th and it sounds like it's really good. I've seen already early reviews for this one, and not that that should ever sway you, because I might really love a book and you might hate it, or you might absolutely hate a book and I might love it. But I feel like it already kind of says a lot. The fact that people really already like the first book has a lot of really great ratings, and then now with this one. So again, it looks like this is going to be some sort of billionaire romance. Then last up for the new releases is The Sun and Her Burn by Gianna Darling. I actually read The Moon and His Tides in, I think it was March. It might have been April, I don't remember. But this is the second book in the series, and this is supposed to take place 10 years later. Now, if you even heard me talking about the first book was something totally different. I had never really read a book like that, but it was so good. It was so interesting. And the way that the book ended, I said that it reminded me of the song by Taylor Swift that says, that's called Right Where You Left Me. And basically in the lyrics, it just says like, help, like I'm still at the restaurant, like I'm still stuck, I'm still not over you. And that ending of that book reminded me of that. Like that song was like playing in my mind as I was like listening to the book, and I'm just like, oh my God. And so now the fact that this is picking up 10 years later, I'm like, wait, so what happened? Like what happens to his career? What happens to her? Like there's so many like moving parts here. What happened to her ex-husband? Like, yeah, I don't know. So it should be a really good time. And again, that's coming out on June 26th. Now onto the books that I want to read for June. I haven't really been following a TBR. The mood has been heavy on just mood reading. So these are some of my hopeful, some of the books that I'm planning on tackling. And I don't have really too many because again, some of these new releases are also on that list. But if I end up wanting to just completely scrap this and pick up a totally different book, I will do that because again, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy what I'm reading, and I don't want to be subjected or confined to a little TBR box. So that's just me, but I do have 3 physical books that I really want to get to this month. The first one I have is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This is the 3rd book in the trilogy. It's supposed to sum everything up. This came out a while ago. I think it came out in April. Or did it come out in May? I don't remember, but I know that this wraps up the whole series, and I haven't read it yet, but my friend already read it and she's like, you need to read it because we need to talk about this. So I will be reading it. I do want to read it. I just haven't gotten around to it. So I guess we finally get to see the conclusion. I think that the reason why I didn't just jump in right away is because I did that with book 2 and I was a little bit disappointed. So hopefully everything wraps up in like a really good way in this book. We'll find out. Then I have Kiss of the Basilisk. This one actually, I have a girl in, well, there's a woman in our Bookworm Bebecita book club, which is our Latina only book club. And she was reading this book, I think a couple months ago, and she was like Do not read it at work, but it is so good. It is so hot. It's so sexy. And I can't wait. I know that there's a lot of seduction elements that go into this. It looks like these women are getting advice on how to seduce. I think they're all trying to get a prince. But I've heard that this book is just really good and it's a really good time, especially again if you're just looking to have a good time and you want some good spice. I've heard that this is a book for that, so I can't wait to jump in. And then switching it off totally, like literally the opposite, I have Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. Now, because this book released in the middle of May, obviously some people have read it and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions about this book. I haven't read it, so I don't know. I did see that there are trigger warnings at the beginning of the book. I know some people have said that it didn't feel like enough, and I haven't really looked into why, because that's gonna spoil the book for me because again, I haven't read it. What I will tell you as someone that has read the other books in the series is that this series is very, very heavy. Yes, there are triggers, but this author does it in a very graphic way. For example, just in Binding and Keeping 13, there's a lot of physical violence, a lot of parent and child violence, physical again. And it's very graphic. It's not sugar-coated, it's not glossed upon, it is very, very graphic. So it's heavy reads. This is definitely not something easy to read. It actually like breaks my heart as I'm reading it for these characters, but I think that that's why I really enjoyed this series so much, because it makes it very real. This is actually something really serious. It is something that people really live and really go through. So I would say definitely look up the triggers, but this is a very heavy series. And again, I don't know exactly what the discourse is around this book because I haven't read it yet. One thing though that I did hear and that I do agree with is the fact that this is marketed for YA. I don't think it should be marketed as YA, because although maybe the people reading this are 17, 18-year-olds and the characters in this story are around 17, 18 years old, because of the topics, I feel like it should just be adult. I don't think that this should be YA. So I do agree with that. I definitely think that it would be better to just not be considered YA, to just be considered adult fiction. But that's just my opinion. And yeah, I will be reading this book. I'm kind of scared to read it, honestly, because I've seen so many people just crying about this book. So we'll see. I mean, every single book in the series has been absolutely heartbreaking, but then there is light in those books. So there's light, but there is also a lot of darkness. And again, check your triggers. Okay, so those are my 3 physical books. Now, as far as the audio, Caught Up, I already said, that is one that I will absolutely be listening to as soon as it releases. But another audio that I actually just got on the Libby app is Shield of Sparrows. I don't really know what it's about. I just know that people have been raving about this book, and it is a fantasy romance. And as soon as my Libby app said, hey, guess what? It's your turn to read it, I borrowed it. So I will be listening to that book. I'm finishing one other book and then I'll be picking that up. So I should be starting that book actually this week. June also is Pride Month, so I would definitely say, although you should always be reading queer authors at any point, but June would be even better to really highlight those voices. So there are actually quite a few books that I already own that are by queer authors that I plan on picking up, but there was one that I saw and it actually really captured my attention because it has to do with soccer. And in the month of May, I actually read a few soccer books, and I think part of it had to do with the fact that I went to a soccer game and I absolutely loved it. It was my first professional game that I went to, but I also play soccer in a women's league, so it just kind of, I really like it. But this one is called Futbolista and it's by Johnny Garcia Villa. And this has to do with the hero who kind of discovers that he might not only like women, he might actually be bisexual, but because he plays in the Mexican league and there is a lot of stereotypes, a lot of discrimination that still goes on, it's pretty much frowned upon for players to come out, and the fact that he is attracted to another man would possibly make it a problem, especially when it's a field or a sport that is very, you know, masculine. And so I don't know, it seemed really interesting and I really, really want to read it this month. So that is one book that I for sure want to pick up. But with all of that said, these are the books that are releasing in June that are on my radar, and also the books that are on my kind of TBR, but mostly hopefuls. Let's just put it at that. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one.